What's up, everybody? Mohan13 here. Just a little bit after making the card tricks video. But, let's get into this. I mean, you see the title of the video, and like I said in the card tricks one, there's going to be a lot more Dragon Ball what ifs for now. Which, I'm also going to be doing a Super Dragon Ball Heroes World mission, basically story. Alright, just Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. It's a Dragon Ball game, which, I'll be honest, would have been dope if they made it into, like, an actual anime. Which, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna take the characters and basically play it. Basically, run through the game's event, but as an anime. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it Dragon Ball Heroes. So, yeah. Not mine, but yeah. Along with the fact that, y'all remember when we were having that, where I talked about the Xenoverse what if, which, to be completely honest, I don't know whether they're making a character from a different show altogether, which the character would have to be from like a normal show, like not anywhere that has like maybe like a slice of life, you know, not where anything has a plot line where the powers would revolve around. Which, to be honest, my first thought was to bring in Lincoln, but if I can't find anyone else to do that, then probably that, since I'm not making my own character. That seems a bit provocative. Well, I'll come back to it when I come back to it. That's not going to come out until, like, episode 3 of the Dragon Ball Heroes one. But I'm getting off track. Let's start the story off. So, you know how we start off, which, obviously, this is going to be manga spoilers, my friend. You know my channel. Alright, so we start the story off with a baby eating its sibling in the womb. We would later come to find this baby as Sukuna. But the baby, the twin that the other Sukuna ate, he's reincarnated. But not on Earth in this timeline, no siree. We see somewhere on a distant planet far from Earth itself. And this is hundreds of years after this. It took a while for a soul to reincarnate. After Sukuna was... No, I can't really have it after that. Somewhere after Sukuna was defeated for the first time and turned himself into a cursed object, his soul was finally reincarnated, but not on Earth, far away in the galaxy, light years away. We see on the planet we amply name Planet Vegeta, and this is where this baby is reborn as we see in an incubation pod incubation chamber, not pod, but I mean you get it. We see a baby with pink black hair just floating around in there, as we see its parents come up and says a power level of 13. Sure, he's a low class runt like them, but still a power level of 13. Who knows how bigger it can grow? And thus years pass. Eventually we see this boy turn out to be a battle hardened saiyan. By the age of 12, he's already able to... He has a power level of about 200. Being able to conquer planets and wipe them out with a little more than no effort whatsoever. Along with having a sadistic grin while at it. This Saiyan also has a red scarf wrapped around his head. This was a memento from one of his dead friends. One of his only friends, surprisingly. Well, for a Saiyan, that is. Well, at first it was white, but then it was drenched in his blood. That's something that will aggravate and haunt him for no end. But we later come to find out this boy name is Jinji, a Saiyan, the reincarnation of Sukuna's brother. Not only this, but he has a unique ability. It's something that's key related, but they can't tell. He has the ability to dismantle things and kill them. It makes it easier to do his planet wiping out job along with his grade 8 transformation. But eventually, we see his parents pulling him along, with them telling him, they think that the little ruler Chill. Yes, I know Chill, but not like his name is Chill. Yes, but he's not like the Chill from the Bardock special. He has the same name, but not same person. That dude was a goddamn clown. But basically, with them telling Gingy that they think Chill is going to blow up their planet and they want him to get off as far away as possible. With him, he didn't ask his father to let him fight, with him telling him, no, run and hopefully protect yourself. Your older brother should come if we survive. We'll notify your older brother of your location. But along with this, they say they're sending him down to a basically bathwater planet, worthless to the Saiyans, Earth. And thus, while his father goes off to fight Chill out in space, he's sent away to this planet. Eventually, while being far enough, he can see. He can see as the ball comes crashing down on planet. These are different people in this timeline, so I'm gonna come up with a different name for Vegeta for now, but let's just call it Vegeta for now. As he sees his home planet be vaporized along with everyone he knew, it leaves the boy angry. As while this is happening, we see that he finally ends up landing on Earth. And before eventually kicking his pod open, we see him walk out with his scout on as he looks at the planet and thinks of how pathetic some of these people are, until his scouter notifies something. Right before he landed, a young man to be in his late 20s, saw his pod crash down and flew over. When he lands down, he sees the young Gingy as he tells the human to say his business, with the man asking the boy what happened. And when he doesn't get his answer, he ends up brushing the old man, with him screaming, "You damn human, listen to me." With him basically rushing forward with his flight, bringing his hand down, shattering the ground below him. As almost immediately, the man's power level jumps up on his scouter to be 300. As he's shocked at it. Around 350. She's shocked at that this human can hide this power before he immediately receives a heavy kick to the jaw, sending him flying back, only for the man to appear before him, slowing him down on the ground, grabbing him by his tail, and flinging him in the air. And thus we see the man start charging energy. Now, this is something that surprised Gingy. This isn't Ki. No, it's something different. He can feel and see it, but as the old man, he's not old in this one. As the man proceeds to rush up, his Ki, this weird bluish energy turning red as he says Black Flash, hitting the boy in the chest, basically knocking the wind out of him and knocking him unconscious. Before the man proceeds to grab him, it slowly floats back down to the ground, lifting up the pod and flying off before anyone hopefully noticed any more of the damage. Now we skip to in the morning, where we see Gingy. His armor was broken, along with the fact that he has bandages around him, as he starts to think to himself exactly what the hell that old man did. Before we see him walking out and seeing the old man cooking, as he tells him to sit down, and also his name. Well, Gingy doesn't want to. He knows that this man could have killed him, and so showed him mercy. And so, one thing he does ask is, where's his red headband back? With the old man telling him that that thing was covered in blood, but no, he did wash it though. But that thing was so soaked and coated in blood that it kept the little red color it had. With him being happy at this and telling him that, well, it's in the washroom, but first time to eat. And thus, the two sit down while with Gingy explaining. And along with him asking the old man his name and exactly what was that. Now then, I don't think we know Yuji's grandpa's name. So, um, cool, uh, Yami, yeah, Yami, let's go with that. His name's Yami. With him saying that his name is Yami Itadori, with the boy saying his name is Jinji. No last name. He's Jinji of the Saiyans. And thus he starts explaining, with Yami himself explaining what ki is. Well, I mean, not what ki is. Cursed energy. What cursed energy is and what that move he used on him called. It was called Black Flash. The young boy is intrigued by this and wants to learn, with Yami telling the boy that there are people more powerful than him out there. Hell, and... Wait, no. Yuji's grandpa was, well, the grandpa. I'm gonna say that Yami is in his, 28, 29-ish. Along with him telling... this is when Yami also tells him of a boy that he felt with cursed energy and ki basically surging through the rank, and the boy already had a power. He could sense it, and if he had to rank it, he'd be around a power of 200 by now. The young child that was born could easily destroy the planet, as it seems like the entire concept of Jujutsu sorcerers and martial artists changed when he was born. And hearing this and realize how this boy had a power level at that point already terrified him, as he slowly realized that this wasn't a planet of backwater people. No, far from it. It was people with strong power. It was warriors on this planet, warriors stronger than him. Hell, he wondered just how natural power progressed. How powerful could this person be? With Yami telling him he doesn't know his name, all he knows is that he was born in the Gojo clan. Besides that, he also tells the young boy that, well, he's going to need a new name to start out and also a family. And thus, Yami asks him to join his family. And after a quick takedown place to the adoption center, the boy's name has been changed to Jin Itadori. He has to hide the tail, which is remarkably better for him. And thus, the troop starts training in martial arts and in cursed energy. With Yami already being able to see that his son now is actually pretty advanced at cursed energy along with using ki. But he doubts this. He chalks this up to him being half an alien, which he's kind of smuggling and hiding, along with the fact that he's introduced the boy into school so he can actually get good grades, which turns out he's a smart kid, really smart. He doesn't really have that much effort, as he kind of brags to his now father that stuff on planet Vegeta on how to learn how to work a spaceship makes this work look like absolute child play. Along with the fact that the two also somewhat start bonding over training, along with Yami helping him try and fix his ship. He's not going to be trying to run from the planet anytime soon. After learning how training could make him stronger, he wants to avenge the Saiyan race. His Saiyan pride. He wants Chill to pay with his life. This is also when he learns from Yami about to give ancient things called the Dragon Balls that disappeared years ago. But they had the ability to bring people back to life at one point. And so thus, once summer hit, we see Jin and Yami and Jin head off, looking for these magical orbs as hopefully a challenge Chill. And it takes a while, about 2 months, but with how agile they are, they're able to find them. And thus, with one other word of the internal dragon, he's unleashed. With him telling him that his creative powers has diminished to the point where he can't even bring someone back to life. Not anymore, but he can heal, and things like that. with him asking that if, with Jin then asking if he had a stronger creator, he could bring people back from the dead, which receiving this as a yes. And as they have 3 wishes in this timeline, so now I'm going to keep it at the normal one for the Dragon Balls for now. And thus, they ask to be teleported to where his creator is. And thus, the Eternal Dragon is able to grant this wish, teleporting the 2 in front of a tower, Korin's tower. And thus, after a quick fly up, training with Torin and drinking the Ultra Divine Water, and overcoming things in himself, as Yami explains to him that he was just waiting for him to be the right moment to introduce him to Korin, his master. Which the young Saiyan boy at this point has significantly mellowed out from the mass-murdering genocidal psycho he was. He's a good person now, surprisingly. As it had been, a whole year at this point, since he landed on Earth. And thus, with the 2 flying up to Kami's tower, which technically I would change the name, but since he is the god of Earth, and, Kami means god in Japanese, so I don't think it would change all that much. So he's still going to be Kami in this time. The Namekian here is still going to be named Kami, since I really can't be bothered with making a name right now. I'm also probably going to make a what if on Goku Jr. and just probably going to try like Dragon Ball 100 years later, something like that. Who knows? I forgot to mention that at the start of the video. But besides that, let's get on into it. And so, he trains with the God of Earth, eventually. And as time goes on, this is when the 22nd Martial Arts World Tournament pops up. Him knowing that Yami had won the last one, and so he chooses to make his father proud. He kind of easily sweeps through it. There's no one really impressive there, since I don't think Jujutsu Sorcerers would be there, so he kind of just sweeps through this, becoming the world champion, and taking home the large sum of money. And with this, time just kind of goes on for the young man, turning into a teenager, eventually meeting someone, a woman under the name Corey. I don't know her last name. Don't try it. And he falls in love. Eventually, he does notice something a bit off with her, but doesn't tell it. He's actually happy, and has even forgotten about his revenge on Chill. He's okay with being an Earthling now. All of this does take him back to a point where you remember stopping some weird army, in fact, eviscerating the whole bunch, the Red Ribbon. But he thinks he killed them all, so things go on peaceful for him. Eventually, him and Corey get married. Yes, by the time they're married, Kenjaku is sneaking in and stole her body. So, yeah. It's kind of... it's hilarious when you think about it, but freaky at the same time. Kenjaku stole this woman's body and then fucked her husband. Okay. But, yeah, so by this time, Kenjaku has already done his sneaky rue and, stole Corey's body and her husband. She told her, man. Which, also, yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's canon that Kenjaku takes on the pronouns of whatever body he's inhabiting, so, for Corey, at this moment, I'm going to refer to her / Kenjaku, for at this moment, she's a her. So, yeah. So, yes, eventually the 2 end up conceiving and having a son. A half alien, and half human, half Saiyan, Yuji Itadori. Based off some of the kanji from his father's name, Yu, and the other G. I don't know what the words of U and G mean in Japanese. Don't ask. You can look it up, but don't ask me. But, yeah. With that, we see just Jin flying throughout the desert before he basically went on somewhere to get out sensu beans from Korin, as he wanted to bring Yuji's training up, but unbeknownst to him, he can't sift something as it comes flying down, basically slamming him into the ground. As he looks up, he sees what appears to be a robot, but it has the red ribbon symbol on it. So this immediately leads to him attack, raising his ki. But eventually, when the robot's able to grab onto him, he starts to feel his energy draining, and being sucked away from him. He feels weak, which eventually leads to the robot, this mechanical monster, ripping a hole through his chest. As he can't help but think to the fact that he's sorry to Yuji and Corey. Now he can't help but think he's sorry to both of them, as unfortunately he ends up losing his life in this moment, his corpse being dropped to the ground. If you're wondering where the sensu beans were, they were destroyed in the process. As we switch over to Yami, with Corey just holding a 2-year-old Yuji, as he feels his son's ki disappears, and along with the glass that he had shattering on the ground. And when Kenjaku asks, "What's wrong, Dad?" she also feels it. Her husband is dead. Now, Yami did find his son's body, wondering what could have did this, but right now, the next thing, the funeral is held, with Yuji being too young to remember his father. Along with, after 2 years, his mother is proclaimed dead as well. After she had left one day with Yuji remembers this. Her just leaving out one day, and the next, she was proclaimed dead. This didn't sit well with the 4-year-old boy. By this point, he had become an orphan. So now it was just him and his grandfather, as he slowly took care of him and trained the boy in the ways of martial arts. But also, something that he knew his son wouldn't want is for him to instill Saiyan pride and all about what he knew of the Saiyans from his son into his grandson. Thus, this leads Yuji to being slightly prideful about what he is, along with the fact that eventually another world tournament comes around with Yuji participating and winning, just like his father before him. Although, unbeknownst to the boy, someone he would meet in the future would be staring there. A girl with brown hair, who was brought to the state with her parents for just a bit. Basically, her and her friend were able to get tickets to come view the World Martial Arts Tournament, which it was a lottery draw based off of pure luck. And they see this boy hiding in a hotel. Says, yeah, that'd be pretty freaky around now. Kicking other martial artists, a boy that's not much older than her. A boy that's, her same age. She can... I would say it would be said on the tournament screen or something, I don't know. As he wins the martial art. He starts winning until he gets to the finals, where the boy's grandfather is waiting for him. It's a spectacular battle of grandson versus grandfather as the two rage on and fighting. Although Yuji's eventually able to get the upper hand, as we see him in the sky, as he starts saying something. He starts saying the original motto before screaming out "ha," sending a blue beam of energy down at the ground. With his grandfather looking up, charging up and mustering all the ki and curse energy he can before shooting it at the boy's beam. As it's a spectacular to see the beam clash. But eventually, Yuji's able to whip him deep inside himself as he screams out, as we see the mighty Ozaru appear behind him, as the beam engulfs his grandfather's, and eventually makes an explosion, landing in the ground. As we see his grandfather get blocked out of the ring and onto the ground, with Yuji plummeting to the ground himself, but slowly getting up, with him saying Yuji Itadori is the winner. Which the arena bursted in cheers, everything. that Yuji couldn't help but have fun at this. The 13-year-old boy, while he did go to check on his grandfather, with him telling Yuji that he thinks about time he teaches him about curses. And, actually, no. I say Yuji would just... He doesn't want his grandson living the same life as his father, so... He doesn't, but he does teach him about all the same things, like I said. I.e., Ozaru, which, yes, Yuji can somewhat control in this timeline. And thus, we see Yuji slowly grow up until he's eventually... 2 years after he won the world tournament, he's now a 15-year-old boy, which... And with everyone knowing that they went... And at his school, he's basically the populous kid out there. I mean, hey, that's the kid that wore the 20... It's like every 8 years, right? So, 23rd... Yeah, I'm gonna say 23rd. Wait, no, Jin was 13 when he... 25th. We're changing it to the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament. And so, Yuji is a pretty popular kid in this timeline, since, well, everyone knows him. So, this also leads to a lot of clubs trying to get their hands, since, hey, having the World Tournament of the Martial Arts, the World's Martial Arts Tournament, being a club would, I mean, hey, it would boost our hype up so much, you know? Although Yuji just joins one club, the Occult Club, which surprises a lot of people, since a muscle kid like him would be a shoo-in for Jim, but there's a reason Yuji is doing this. Well, yeah, he likes a good fight. His grandfather has been declining in health, unfortunately. And thus he's doing something that takes the least amount of his time, so he can always make sure to go visit the old man, who has somewhat been bitter, who's somewhat more happy in this timeline. One of the few things he's bitter about is not being there for his son, since he can't help but shake off the feeling that if he was there, he could have saved them. Couldn't he? Sure, his son was stronger than him, but still, maybe it would have made a difference. Maybe he would have died that day and his son lives. And he'll never know, but that's basically been haunting Yami since then. Even though, unbeknownst. Also, he did pass out his son's signature red headband down to Yuji. Well, eventually got tattered and broke, which Yuji now sports just his own red headband. And he's proud to wear it, saying it's a memento of his father. Which Yuji does know of his father in this timeline, and his mother, and that they're both gone. So he doesn't really have that interaction with his Gramps like he does in the original. But eventually, he ends up passing. It was tough for Yuji, to say the least, as he felt like something was coming, but it wasn't some more anger that this was. It was pure unadulterated sadness. And thus, when Yuji eventually walks out of... After writing a report about it, and the morgue telling him where his grandfather would be buried, he ends up coming across a boy with black hair. He consists his ki. Even if he's trying to suppress it, he's strong. Not as strong as Yuji, but strong. And thus the boy asks Yuji if he's seen a finger, with the two checking it out, before eventually feeling a dreaded feeling. They see a veil surrounding a school, Yuji's school, with Megami telling Yuji to stay here, with Yuji telling Megami that he's the world's martial arts champion. He's pretty sure he could handle any random monster. But Megami tells him just in case if they get trapped in here, he doesn't even know how to use cursed energy. Thus, the boy ends up speeding down the hallways using his ki to fly low into the ground, but just enough to boost his speed. And when he gets there, but Yuji was just waiting for him to go, as he almost immediately flies up and kicks through the window. Basically kicking, Yuji using some pent-up anger, punches the curse, damn near basically wrecking his entire face. And hell, if he had curse energy, he would have killed it right there and then, saving his friends. As he asked Megami, how can we kill it? Which leads to the fight on the roof and Yuji with Sukuna's finger, and eventually he decides to eat it as a way to gain curse energy. And with that, he does. But while Sukuna tries to take over in this timeline, he does for a quick second. Yuji's almost immediately able to take back over and sending the curse back to wherever hell it came from, vaporizing it with an energy blast. With Megami saying that he has to exorcise him, and this is when Gojo comes in. Which things happen similar to canon, with Gojo telling Yuji he wants to fight Sukuna for a bit, which leads to a more interesting fight. With Sukuna, while using Yuji's body and strength, he is stronger than he would be normally, but he can't bypass something's blocking him from actually hitting Gojo, and so he tries to use his technique, but still, nothing. He's surprised with Gojo explaining his curse technique to him, the Six Eyes and Limitless, before eventually blasting him with a ki blast, sending him flying back, which leads to Yuji taking control. Now then, Gojo does ask about the tail, though, which Yuji, seeing no reason to explain to the man that helps, end up explaining that the whole race of Saiyans and everything like that. With Yuji also explaining that he has to look away from the moon unless he wants to turn into a giant monkey, which he can't control this, especially at this point, but still, having a giant raging monkey around would be fun, and Yuji doesn't want to be naked when he transforms back. And thus, time skips ahead, where we see Yuji and Gojo, and Gojo explaining to Yuji exactly who Sukuna is. With with Sukuna saying that he'll kill him, with Yuji telling Sukuna that trust that if he wasn't stuck in his body, he'd send him back to whatever the hell he belongs to. Yuji making it clear that he hates this, and that if he had the chance, he'd kill Sukuna right here and now. And thus, Sukuna starts laughing a bit, thinking about how this half-alien brat would dare threaten him. With him laughing and telling him that he accepts the challenge, and that if they're ever split from one day, he'll be expecting Yuji to kill him, or else. With Yuji telling him, then bring it. And after this display, Gojo is somewhat smiling, telling Yuji that for a kid his age, he got balls. Threatening the king of curses like that, which Yuji telling him that, well, it's not really that much important. And thus the two meet Principal Yaga. Things go on and like that. And yeah, Yuji doesn't really get punched by the teddy bear that much. He has a control on curse energy in this timeline. Since, he spent years since the age of basically 5 dealing with curse energy. But yeah. Also, since power levels are relevant right about now, let's go down. Alright, right now of all of our characters, we have... Now, this is all of them in their current states. We see them right now. So, Sukuna with one finger and not using Yuji's body. Compared to everyone. Which, at this point, we got Megami at first, at dead last, and the strength hold off everyone we've seen so far. With him being at a power level of about 299. We then get followed up by Sukuna, just one finger Sukuna here, which this is just Sukuna. If he had a body, he only had one finger, not using Yuji's. So Sukuna with one finger is about at 325, followed by Yuji at 370, and followed by Gojo, who sits comfortably around 560 in terms of power. Meaning that, yeah, he could vaporize the world over thrice, basically a lot. So, yeah. And Yuji can feel this. And thus, things start playing out. And basically after them getting situated and stuff, with Yuji asking if he has one of the sorcerer suits and like a gi. And so Yuji's is somewhat more like a gi now. He has baggy martial artist pants, while his shirt, he has right around to his biceps is where his sleeves go. Like, imagine future Gohan's look. Like that, but due to high colors with Yuji's red hood at the back, along with the space for his tail to fit through. And thus, this is when Gojo tells the two boys that they're going off to meet someone new. And with this, we get introduced to Nobara. And when they meet each other, Nobara is actually surprised a bit. She still has the same opinions about Megami and Gojo, but Yuji, she remembers basically about 2 years ago, she remembers seeing him at the World Martial Arts Tournament. She remembers seeing him win. And she almost immediately tells him the fact that she was at the World Martial Arts Tournament when he won. In fact, he accidentally bumped into her on the way to a match, with Yuji recognizing the said girl and asking her if her name was Kugasaki, right? And with her asking him, Yuji Itadori, telling him that it's nice to meet him again after these 2 years. Which Gojo and Megumi are somewhat surprised. They saw it on TV but didn't go. With Nobara asking him about the fact of, well, yeah, she knows about Kurshinji and Ki. So now, with Nobara added on, she's weaker than Megami, so, Megami 250, yeah, Megami at 299, I put Nobara around 250 for a power level right now. Or, I actually never mind. She'd be way weak. I mean, hell, even in canon, without the resonance current, her technical resonance being broken as shit, she was, weaker than everyone in the trio at that point. Which, I'm not hating. She's best girl. But, no. So, Nobara be around the power level of 100, 110, or 120. You choose. So yeah, she also does ask Yuji if she would like that. She would definitely love to spar with the World's Martial Arts Tournament, even now and again. And so the two at this point are already on way better terms than they were in the anime and manga. I'm just gonna call it the OG timeline. So yeah, at this point the two are already on way better terms, and thus Gojo sends the two in there while they just kind of continue talking it. With Yuji asking her, did she like the matches he saw him in? With her telling him that she wished she was there when it would have been so cool to fight in the World Martial Arts Tournament. And Yuji tells her, well, they're only 6 years away from the next one, so you'd definitely love to see her challenge him for his title. And with her telling him that it's on. So the two are just having friendly talk, just, I guess, slightly catching up out of old friends. I mean, they became cool with each other pretty quickly, so, yeah, just asking the two what they've been up since the tournament. And thus, you know what, I'm gonna make it so that her and, I can't remember her friend's name for the life of me, were sitting by Yuji's grandpa. And that's when the conversation eventually gets to about how's his grandpa doing. She remembers he was a grumpy man. With Yuji looking down and telling her that her father passed a couple of days ago. And she gives her condolences, which is then they sense the curse. Now then they do split up and Nobara finds him, which, she's not surprised by Yuji just flattening the wall with one punch. She's seen him blow up an arena before. So yeah, with the curse trying to run, it gets stabbed by resonance before getting blasted by a Kamehameha from Yuji. And eviscerated completely. And so the kid is saved a lot faster here. And Now they go on just a couple of side missions, really, with them just going through and basically becoming closer. Now with this, they eventually get to somewhere. And basically we see some drones panning down looking at Yuji. So, he's his son, someone says, as he said, send out Android 13. And thus, boom. While they're just in the building getting ready to curse, something crashes through the ceiling. As he looks up, with Android 13 asking him if he's the son of Jenny Dodori. And when Yuji agrees, he tells him that he's going to be sending him the same place he sent his father. After hearing this, Yuji bursts off in front of it at a rage. Immediately. And Nobara and Megami didn't even see him move. In the 2 seconds that robot explained. They also felt Yuji's power grow a lot. As we zoom in on Yuji, let's see. As we see him miss, but we also see his ki start to expand. His muscles starting to build as his eyes turn yellow, telling whatever this is, he doesn't care. He's going to rip it to shreds before rushing it and getting off a good clean few punches, and before giving it rapid punches to the stomach, grabbing it and throwing it, which it almost eventually comes back down, sending a punch with the boy blocks, but this leads to it grabbing Yuji and starts to absorb his ki, which, while this is happening, this knocks him out of his new form, with the other seeing this and sensing his ki depleting. And thus, Nobara uses Megami summons the electric bird, I can't remember its name, to basically hunt down and bring down the android from the sky. Since he doesn't want to get too close. If it can absorb ki and curse energy, this thing is a no-go. So it brings him and Yuji down to the sky, with him sending out one of his dying dogs to grab Yuji. Which Nobara checks on him after he gets pulled and sees that he's somewhat that he's basically out for the count. That thing absorbed a lot of ki. And thus it leaves these two with their heavy hitter out. And thus she tells Megami if he's ready. With him agreeing as they power up to their full power. No more suppressing. As they both rush it and will ease off more. With Megami having one of his design dogs and him rush it, basically trying to confuse it. Just enough so Nobara can throw up a resonance doll and hit it with it. But something happens. And this is something that she kind of didn't want to believe, since they didn't feel any ki or curse energy from this thing. But this basically confirms it for both of them, that this thing's a robot. Along with the fact that, they heard from Yuji himself in the robot, and it killed his father. And thus, they start sending out attack. Great elephant? Yeah, great elephant by this point. But yeah, basically while this is happening, Yuji is slowly getting up. While also remembering what happened, he pops back into his form. His rage. It's boiling. But when he wakes up, he sees that they're gone, as we see that the fight's gone outside. With Nobara in the air, smacking it back down into the ground. With Megami's electric bird coming out of nowhere, smacking it before he ends up kicking it to an opposing building. With the two landing, obviously seeming battered and bruised. As they sense Yuji waking up, they can feel it as they see a white blur basically burst out of the building before rushing it, with them screaming at him to wait, which luckily they do before he can go fight it. As they need to come up with a plan. This thing has been absorbing energy like no tomorrow, and they don't know what to do. And so Yuji comes up with a plan to hold it down while they basically blast it. And that's exactly what they do. And thus Yuji, using his abnormal new power-up form to basically mow the robot down, with Megami coming up with a plan to put enough curse energy into his bird to deliver one final blow. as Nobara is just providing support for Yuji, since, well, her residents can't really do anything here since it doesn't have a soul. So right now, she can't really do anything besides just fire out some ki blasts to distract it. And thus, while Yuji is sparring with the robot, right before it's able to grab him, he hears Megami scream, "Now, Yuji!" But again, as it's about to grab him, a ki blast comes out from Nobara, blasting its hand off, which leads to Yuji kicking it in the face, sending it flying in the air. As Megami's bird comes out, surrounded in a yellowish aura and purple electricity, screeching before coming crashing into New. Its name is New. New comes crashing into it, letting out a screech as we see that it's completely torn through it before leaving the android to explode behind it, and slowly it returns back to Megami, with Yuji landing on the ground a bit exhausted, but otherwise okay. And thus, this leads to the trio being able to celebrate killing that thing. And as Yuji ends up going to the destroyed parts of the robot and grabbing an anvil, red ribbon, even though Yuji wished he had avenged his father, he knows he hasn't. And he can't think of help but the fact that there are going to be more of these things coming. Which, now we skip a couple of weeks, where we see this Yuji and Nobara hanging out, which, yeah, it's a Yuji and Nobara one, and again, Yuji's a Saiyan. We know they like strong-willed women. Like, Saiyans canonically like strong-willed women. Just look at Nobara. And this is before he met Maki, so you can't hit him with why not Maki. So, yeah, Yuji and Nobara are just seen coming back from a date, where they get rewarded about the fact they have to go out after a special grade, and thus they go. Now then, Sukuna has been livid about the fact that this brat has only grown stronger, which, I'm not going to do power levels until the end of this video. So, yeah. They go, land in the car with a woman asking Yuji to save her son. And Yuji starts to remember something. Something far back. He remembers seeing his grandfather crying just crying one night. He remembers overhearing it. As with him, you know how they have photos in the house? Just crying at Jin's photo. It was silent tears, but he remembers it. He remembers it vividly. And so he accepts this woman's offer, telling her that she'll give her closure, since, well, that's something that his grandfather barely got. And Nobara is more... Now, at this point, Nobara obviously knows about Yuji's dad, so she's less adamant against Yuji trying this. She's also knows he's strong enough, especially with that new form he's been working on with Gojo Sensei. So, yeah. Now then, eventually, Nobara gets snatched by the frog, while Yuji and Megami come across a special grade, and they can feel its power. For whatever reason, this thing is strong, abnormally strong, as it slaps Yuji into a wall, sending him crashing into the side of the building, shaking the whole area, actually. As we see Yuji get up, as he tells Megami to go grab Nobara, he'll handle this thing. It has a quick charge up its power, as we see his eyes turn yellow. Yellowish? Yellow oranges? Yeah. As he feels his ki surge, as he rushes this thing, now being able to match its power, as we see the things clash fish, as we see them teleport around the area, constantly clashing. Now, yeah, Megami gets Nobara back from the frog eventually, as the two continue fighting, as we see Yuji turn around, roundhouse kicking the curse into the ground before trying to fire a ki beam, which is blocked as he proceeds to get smacked in the face. And also it shoots a shockwave at Yuji, as he seems badly damaged. And thus Yuji tells the thing to come on, try him, as he starts charging Kamehameha, and they have a beam clash, with Yuji remembering everyone. His grandfather, Nobara, Megumi, Gojo, hell, even Okazawa, and his friends at the Occult Club, as he thinks of the fact that he can't and won't die here. And thus, Yuji starts to spiral in a form as he feels himself kind of pass out for a bit. Before he can feel it, the power unknown to him starts rising. He has a reddish orange aura around him. His hair stands up. It's nothing, but he knows that he can't waste time. And so he starts screaming. And so he lets out a powerful scream before rushing and basically outpacing and outbeating the curse altogether, kicking around and using it as a volleyball before charging up a Kamehameha and firing it, eviscerating the curse, but not the finger, since, well, those things are basically indestructible. So yeah. Oh my god, I completely forgot. Gojo giving Yuji the second finger, shit. But yeah, fuck it. We can get to that later. And thus, boom, Yuji is killed it. As we see him stumbling around a bit, burning back to normal. He feels his muscles burning before eventually passing out. Although, unfortunately for him, this leads to Sukuna being able to take control over it, as he laughs to himself, as he thinks that was a display for the brat. The half-monkey brat. And thus he laughs while eventually walking to his finger, picking it up, and eating it. Now we get to Megumi, who's taking the bar outside, as he told her that he's definitely coming back with Yuji, with her basically making the promise. Sure, her and Yuji got close fast, but doesn't change the fact that there's care between the two. And even Megumi knows this, so when she has to make sure to bring Yuji back, he promises it. Although when he eventually gets there, he wasn't expecting him. As he senses Sukuna. As he looks over him, feels this overwhelming amount of ki and curse energy mixing together into a malice intent of hate, of death. As Megumi starts fearing. Now then, this ass whooping doesn't go anywhere similar to how it did in... This ass whooping doesn't change, unlike This ass whooping doesn't change from the canon one from an anime and manga. Megumi still gets thrown around like a goddamn ragdoll. Except this time, Sukuna has a half-alien body and can access Yuji's Zenkari form. So, Megumi gets his ass beat worse in this timeline. But right before Sukuna... And with Sukuna telling Megumi that about everything he's done. But, yeah. But, unfortunately, with Megumi telling him that Nobara was waiting for Yuji, along with the fact that he'd like to have his friend back. And thus, this is when Yuji wakes back up. Telling Megumi to tell Nobara he's sorry and that he's glad he saw him as a friend before collapsing to the floor, dead. As Megumi looks at his friend's corpse, as he doesn't know how to feel right now. In fact, he doesn't know what to feel right now at all. And thus, we switch to things. Which, when he told Nobara, the shock on her face was something that he wasn't prepared to see on the girl. He knew they were getting close, but it was basically somewhat sad, just a sad day altogether. And thus, we have this go the same way with Yuji and Sukuna fighting in the Mindscape. With Sukuna doesn't kill Yuji right away in this timeline, since, well, he can't, and the two are more even. With Sukuna just being slightly stronger. So eventually, after a somewhat good Sukuna tells Yuji that he'll bring him back and won't make him forget, but they still need to make a binding vow. And so, a binding bound is formed. A binding bound is formed between the two, and Yuji wakes up with him wondering where the hell his clothes are at. But also seeing Gojo and Shoko there, surprised but happy nonetheless in Gojo's case. With Gojo telling Yuji that he's going to take him out for training and he brought his gi, so put some clothes on. And with that, we're going to be ending part 1 of What If Yuji Itadori Was a Saiyan. Oh, I said I was going to go over the power levels at the end of the video. What the hell am I talking about? Alright, we still got Nabarro at the weakest, but even though a few weeks have passed, I'd say like a month has passed around now. Well, I'd say half a month has passed by this point. With the training of helping train with Yuji, Megami, and Gojo, she's jumped from power level of 120 to one power level of 230. Now, then we have next as the second weakest, we have Megami, who's jumped from a power level of 3/5. I had Megami at 299, right? She jumped from power level 299 to about 380. Now, then we have Yuji at the third weakest. Yes, he's had Zenkais, and yes, I'm going to say that since he wasn't dead yet, and with Sukuna reviving his heart, he's had a major power boost, which has put Yuji from 380 to about 500. Now then, we go to Sukuna and Gojo, the strongest we've seen in the series right now of the main characters. Sukuna with 3 fingers, separate from Yuji's body. Oh wait, since Akari's at 10 times a boost in human form, Yuji goes from, 400, what did I say? Shit. 450 to, 450 goes. Oh, yep, that hurt. I stubbed my toe, shit. Okay, that hurt. Alright, but Yuji goes from, god damn it. I can't think right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even gonna try and do math. But Yuji gets a 10 times multiplier, but doesn't put him above Sukuna. Sukuna's gone from about 360 to around 500. With 3 fingers, he's around. Yeah, no, I'm also having 500 bring Gojo to slightly suppressed. So yeah, he goes to a power level of around 700. I'm just gonna give him the 800 with 3 fingers. Okay, yeah, 800 with 3 fingers seems fair. For Gojo, he's sitting at comfortably 1,000. Since he's, I'm gonna reveal his strength as we go on. But for now, he stops pressing his power level at 500 and starts pressing at 1,010. So yeah, that's where the power levels stand right now, since they're still important. But yeah, with that, Marhan 13